Today's guest has been named one of the most influential women in New Jersey business. She built the first female-founded commercial real estate mortgage banking firm in the country, and her journey is nothing short of extraordinary. You're going to hear how she rose from humble beginnings in rural Massachusetts to breaking into Wall Street at a time when women weren't even allowed through the front door of the Harvard Club. We talk about what it took to build her firm from scratch as a young mother while caring for her ill husband, how she scaled it from zero to servicing over $2 billion in commercial real estate loans, and the leadership philosophy that's kept her employees with her for over 3 decades. This one is full of lessons on resilience, vision, and how to bet on yourself even when the odds say you shouldn't.
Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness. My name is Bobby Mascia, owner of many businesses, including my passion, a wealth management firm that specializes in helping entrepreneurs. My life totally changed when I made a conscious decision to design my businesses to run themselves, not me and my time. If you're looking to get unchained from your business, make more money, and have more time, listen to the experiences of other successful entrepreneurs here on Business Unchained.
Bobby Mascia is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
Please welcome the trailblazing force behind GS Wilcox Company, Gretchen Wilcox.
I just think success breeds success. And I'm sure you find that.
What's your version of that?
Well, it's like last year I was named the most influential woman in business in New Jersey. Like, who am I? Where did that come from? But I think it's just because I have, served on some boards and been involved in industry organizations, and maybe I get more press being, a woman over the years. I'm not sure.
Do you think it's mindset and kind of manifestation? You put your mind to being successful, and because of your energy headed in that direction.
And I think that my story too, I do share, my story of starting my business, with young people. And I've had many people actually start their business because they heard my story.
And it was true when you were a kid. It was true when you first started getting into this business and coming off Wall Street.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think some people are just born a certain way, and I the way people are, it always starts with your family. I had a very loving family. My father never treated me like boys do this, girls do that. It was always, you can do whatever you want.
How many siblings did you have?
I have 3. So there were 4 of us.
Girls, boys, mix? Were you the only girl?
Older brother and 3. Then I'm number 2. And then I have 2 younger sisters.
Okay. So
maybe it's the old number 2, theory. But no, I was brought up in a very small hick town in Mass. And both of my parents were probably, they had a lot of class. They were brought up in generations of family of wealth, but they didn't have any wealth. They were just waiting for the old inheritance to come through, which never did. So, my mom was a school teacher. My father worked at AT&T. And we just, by love and grace, but we never had a lot of money, especially in the 70s with the gas crisis. And, they were always scraping for anything to make sure that we always had the finest clothes and for us to have the best.
So you're always well taken care of, but mom and dad never really had that nest egg. They were always anticipating that eventually some inheritance was going to come.
In debt. Yep.
And did you realize that when you were a kid? Did you recognize any of that?
I knew I wanted to be someone. And when I was actually 13 years old, I had gone to a boarding school where my father had gone and my grandfather had gone. And my brother, who was older than me, my parents always thought that we were having a competition, but we never felt we were. Mm-hmm. But, I always got the grades and he was always the class clown. But we were in our very, very, but so he goes off to Suffield Academy. And I wanted to get out of this small hick town. I mean, it was so small, we didn't have our own high school. I had to go to the high school next door.
What was the environment there? Was it blue collar? Was it
Western
rural?
Mass? It's rural. In my town, we didn't have a stoplight. We had one gas station. We didn't have a grocery store. I always say we had more cows than people.
So kind of remote.
Yes, very remote.
All right.
Yep. And then the high school that we went to was very large. There were like 2,500 kids in this high school. And I went from, as I was athletic from a small hick town, I was always like sort of the star in athletics. And then I go to the regional high school, I didn't make one team. And it was like, get me out of here.
Big fish, small pond.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Small fish, big pond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Got wind where my brother was going to school, which was all boys boarding school, that it was going to turn co-ed. And I talked my mother into going and taking the PSATs without my father knowing.
Okay.
Because there's just no way he was going to have it. And so I went and I applied and I actually got a scholarship to go there. He obviously found out and he was like, you're not going there. That's your brother's school. Plus it would have cost money as well. But then they got word that he got kicked out because he flunked 4 out of 5 classes.
Oh my God.
Everyone loved him, but he was just the class clown. And I think today he still regrets that.
Was it just lots of charm and just didn't want to put the work in?
Yes, a real charmer, So that was really unfortunate. But then I got to go. I was one of 9 girl boarders. There were 500 kids in the school. And, a lot of them guys didn't want the woman there.
I can only imagine that being really intimidating.
Yeah. We're in the 70s. I'm 13 years old when I went there. And everyone had loved my brother, though. All the guys really were friends with my brother. So they weren't going to pick on me, because it's Paul's sister.
What about the other 12?
Oh, they got it.
How did that feel to be the one that didn't get picked on? Was it something that you, no guilt whatsoever?
No, I what I had to do, like as you said at the very beginning, I became friends, with all the guys. I excelled in athletics and academics and made the best of the situation.
So that was the start of you kind of honing in on being somebody that you wanted to be. Did you have any indication of what that looked like?
No.
It was like, I'm going to go do something with myself. Yeah.
And I was surrounded by a lot of wealth. That's where, answer to that question comes, very, very wealthy people from all over the world. I remember one was the heir to the Otis elevator, and his would send him like tuxes from Paris once a week. He'd walk around wearing a tux. Like, what are you doing here? But, I had a budget of $4 a month to buy my shampoo and toothpaste and whatever essentials.
Okay.
It's hard to live on $4 a month.
Yeah, that's a tight budget.
Yeah.
What would you say that would equate to today?
Probably $20 a month.
Okay.
It's not going to get you a lot of shampoo or...
Yeah, you get the bare minimum.
Yes. And then I always had to beg my parents for more money. And my account was just always overdrawn, And then the second year I didn't get the scholarship because my brother wasn't going there too. And so they had to scrape. And then I think right now to go to Suffield, it's probably $80,000 a year, $70,000 or $80,000 a year. And back in the day, it was $5,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
So when you think about the fact that you were surrounded by a lot of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, I'm sure that was a bit of awkwardness for you because you couldn't kind of experience the same things that they experienced. How did you deal with that at the time? Because now they say, right, as an adult, you never want to be the smartest person. You never want to be the wealthiest person in the room. You kind of want to find the room that you can level up in. Did you use that as an opportunity to level up, or was it like what was the experience in that environment for you?
I think I was just friends with everybody.
Yeah, nothing bothered you.
I mean,
just kind of like,
it bothered me, and the fact that my parents always provided me with very nice clothes. Somehow, I didn't
feel off.
No, I didn't look any different.
So that was the first step of you breaking in. Your next path was to Wall Street, correct?
My next path, I went to Babson College.
Right, college.
Yeah. And then and this was a very pivotal time, graduating in 81 when interest rates were in their 20s, high 20s. And of course, I didn't have a job when I graduated, and I didn't because it was really hard to find a job. And I didn't have any, obviously I didn't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to Babson, which is one of the best entrepreneurship schools in the country. So that really gave me a lot of gain and confidence to know that I was going to start something someday. But I sat a house in Wellesley, Mass, and they were going to give me $100 a week. So that was $200. And I asked them if they could pay me up front. And they gave me the $200. And I rented a typewriter and got the Boston Globe. And I would send out 10 resumes and cover letters a day. And there was this one ad in the Boston Globe for MBA with 3 to 5 years experience, assistant to the vice president of finance at Brigham and Women's Hospital. And I answered the ad and that's another thing I've always encouraged everyone around me, my children, the people that I work with, that you can always just go for it.
What's the worst they could say? No.
Right. I don't have my MBA or 3 to 5 years experience, but I need a job. So I went in for my interview, and this guy hired me. He should not have hired me. And my office was about this big. I had my own secretary. I'm 22 years old. And I had to monitor a $300 million construction project, which was being built for Brigham and Women's Hospital. It was 3 affiliated teaching hospitals that came together. And I had to monitor the draws that was underwritten with Merrill on Wall Street. And another part of my job was to take minutes at the finance committee. Well, the finance committee meetings were held at the top of the State Street Bank building in Boston at the club. Women were not allowed in the boardroom of the Harvard Club. So here I was, 22, 23, and I'd have to go in the front door, through the service elevator, through the kitchen to get to the boardroom to take the minutes of the meeting.
And was that the audible that they had to pull to get you up there? Or was this like, what was the...
I was told I had to get there.
Don't go through the front door. You got to find your way out through the back.
Well, they
just to get minutes.
They escorted me that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it was interesting. I loved it. I took a situation like that and was like, wow, look at all this power in this room. I didn't say, why did I have to go through the kitchen?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I got a seat at the table. What gets better than this?
So how'd you feel day one walking into a job like that? How'd you figure it out?
I had to. I worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day and I didn't even know what the word construction meant. And I'm taking care of all of this. But, it was survival.
Did they just dump a bunch of files in front of you and say, get to work?
Yep. Yeah. And I was very Merrill Lynch, and I was very honest with the people that I had to work with that, you need to guide me here. I wasn't going to pretend that I knew what I was doing when I really didn't.
What was the biggest obstacle that you faced? I mean, was there any point where you just felt you were, I don't know, somewhat of an imposter?
Yes.
You shouldn't have been there?
No one in the finance department wanted me there. Why did this guy hire her?
Why do you think he hired you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I joke around, I've always joked around that I had, long strawberry blonde hair and a nice smile, but who knows? And then he was fired actually about, I would say 9 months I was hired. And then the hospital was really screwed because nobody knew what was going on with this project. So then, I was like, oh, this is an opportunity to maybe get a little raise.
So that positioned you for something different? Did you continue in the same role?
Same
or
role.
What did that look like?
The same role. Yep.
And how long did you spend
Same
there?
role. I only spent a couple of years there. And then the project was complete. And then Wall Street, Merrill, the finance department asked me to go join them.
So
I moved down to Manhattan and...
So they poached you.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, there was no real job left after the, for me at the hospital because I already took care of the draws and stuff.
Right. So that was
the building
project,
was built. Yeah.
And it was on to the next.
Yep.
Why'd you decide to go to Merrill Lynch? What drew you into that?
It was so exciting. Go work on Wall Street, 2 Broadway. It was fabulous. Really exciting. Scary, to go there by myself. Like today, if you're a young professional, your parents are going to drive you there and they're going to find you a place to live. They're going to help you do all that. I had to do it all by myself. And I remember, because I'm from such a small hick town, I'd be walking down the streets and somebody went by me, I'd smile and say hi. I learned quickly that's not really what you're supposed to do.
So that's where you cut your teeth in the commercial lending. Is that?
Yes. My mandate there was to come up with a commercial real estate debt placement system, which Merrill did not have. So I would call all the lenders across the country, get their programs, and put together the knowledge for Merrill and their clients.
At the time, were you married at that point? Did you have kids or
no?
So you were still young.
Yeah, I was like 25, 24.
Okay.
Yep.
So take me down that path, because you spent some time at Merrill, and I know that there's a lot of time in between you getting married, having your kids, then starting your own firm. Mm-hmm. What was some of that path that you took to get from where you were then to moving into?
Yeah, I thought, and this is something also that I think is very important for anyone in business to be involved in industry organizations. And that's just been a critical of my path, my career. So when I was at Merrill, I was part of the YMBA, which was a very, very big organization in New York for young real estate professionals. So I belonged to that organization, and then to NYU to get my master's in commercial real estate. Mm-hmm. Back then, they had Real Estate Weekly had on the front page every month a picture of the board. When I join an organization, I immediately try to figure out how to serve on a board, because it gives you so much marketing and press. And
so what was some of the early guidance that you had gotten? Because you went to a school for entrepreneurialism.
Yep.
You get thrown into this big job.
Yep.
You're now on Wall Street.
Yep.
Who guided you along the way? What was some of the guidance that you had gotten in terms of giving that direction, to join a board, to be part of that?
Probably some of my education at Babson.
So your professors
really
prepared you for it.
Yeah. We had unbelievable people come to Babson who would talk about how they started their business, like Ray Kroc and Diane von Furstenberg and famous Amos cookies. It was called Founders Day, and they would come up into the auditorium and tell their stories.
What was most that you heard that kind of carries with you today?
Oh gosh, definitely the founder of McDonald's, who actually had his finger like chopped off because when he was starting, he was doing a milkshake. Diane von Furstenberg's story is amazing too. They all had the same theme. They all believed in themselves. Mm-hmm. And really, I think, is extremely important.
When was that moment where you decided that you were going to go off and do your own thing?
Well, I think I always believed I was going to be successful. And then starting my business, I was trying to learn and trying to figure out where my opportunity would be. I wasn't going to just start something to start it. And then I had gone to work at a competitor. A headhunter had called me who saw my picture in the paper of New York Real Estate Weekly, and they were looking for someone to expand the debt placement system. And they're located here in New Jersey. And I went for the interview, got the job. And, I was never a city girl. So, working on Wall Street was really great, but the city sort of bothered me too, because I did like to be in the country.
Well, that's a huge difference from where you grew up.
Oh, I know. Night and day. Absolutely.
Especially downtown Manhattan.
Yes.
in a industry.
Yeah.
And
oh, yeah.
At that time, it was probably very overstimulating.
Yes. Yeah. But then I went to go work for this company in New Jersey. And when I was there, they had 70 million of loans that they had serviced. And when I left, probably 7 years later, I actually was executive vice president of the company, and I grew that portfolio to 700 million. So I really
10x.
Yeah.
That's a feat.
I really grew the company. They had gone through a leveraged buyout, so being a partner, was not an option, because you're a partner, you're going to owe money. That experience, though, there were no women in commercial real estate mortgage banking, not only in New Jersey, but across the country. There wasn't another one. But to me, I looked at it as free marketing. I would go to conferences and wear pink.
You owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to be my friend. I had a couple haters, but
I think it's super interesting because you're right. Most of the entrepreneurial stories you hear is it's the pursuit. It's that getting over that threshold. People will say that's too much. I can't go any further. I can't go any further into debt. I can't take any more emotional battering. This seemed like a great idea. I must have been crazy, and they were pushed through. It seems like that just seems to be a very common theme. It seems like you've had a lot of that friction in your journey, but there were a lot of also factors that kind of pushed you and propelled you forward. Like you said, everybody wanted to be your friend. And you believed in yourself, and you were going to keep pushing 70 million to 700 million. At what point do you go, I'm going to do this on my own?
Well,
I'm curious because there's, you're seeing it seems like you're seeing a lot of success.
Yes.
It almost seems
with a lot of adversity along the way. Like I wasn't invited to one of those accounts to their annual conference because I was a woman. I was outright told that, even though I was their high producer. And
did that get you pissed? Was it just like, here we go again?
Well, I didn't understand it. And I called a couple of my buddies across the country who were mortgage bankers who represented the same company. And it wasn't my decision. I just said, hey, I thought I was going to go, but I'm not, because I'm not invited because I'm a woman. And they said, well, we're going to call the head of real estate and we're going to tell him. There were like 10 mortgage bankers across the country that called the head of real estate and said, if you're not inviting Gretchen, we're not going to come. So, it was always nice to have friends like that who had your back. And he goes, oh, well, we tell dirty jokes. I don't know if she can handle that. And they're like, you don't know, Gretchen. So, yeah.
So coming out of a predominantly male school,
yep.
Did you find yourself just gravitating to friends with men mostly? Is that kind of what you think your support staff looked like because you were used to men as friends in general, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have good girlfriends and good male friends. Yeah. But it's goes back to my brother and my father, I think, just being comfortable.
You still see a lot of that male-dominated industry is kind of holding women outside. Do you still experience that at all?
I think we've come such a long way. In starting my business, I knew I wanted to start my own business. Now I'm married. I have my 2 children. And unfortunately, my husband got a terminal illness. I just went into overdrive. I can't explain it. I don't know how I did it, but I was making a lot of money in a very young age, and I knew my husband, was going to pass at some point, and I just rolled the dice. I walked away from a huge salary. And
How young were your kids?
when I started they were 2 and 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They were 2 and 3.
And what was your personal time? Because that's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. The thing is, I for like a couple of years, I had tried to get somebody to give me money to start the company.
Mm-hmm.
And 50%, 60%, 70%, like you're a girl, you can't do it, the whole bit. And to go back to industry organizations and just giving back, like I didn't have anything else to do. I was chairing a charitable it's called the Family Service Spring Ball from Morris County. And we had it down at the Bernards Inn in Bernardsville.
Okay.
And
what was the mission of that foundation?
it was to support family, Morris County, counseling, grief, abuse, just social services throughout the county.
Did you get introduced to that from the passing of your husband, or?
No, my husband was still alive at this point. Kids were 2 and 3. That I chaired the ball, and I'm still thinking, how can I do this? And at midnight, a banker came up to me who I'd met with several times, just seeing if he would lend me some money. And he goes, come to my office on Monday and I'll give you the money to start your business. So that was a huge break.
And that was just because he knew you and met you through the work that you were doing at the foundation, or?
He knew of my career. He knew what I did at the old company. And he just at my leadership, I think, at this event, and said, I'm going to give this girl a break.
How did he know that you needed funding?
Because I had met with him several times and asked him for the money. And he said no.
Really?
Yeah.
So you went to him and said, hey, listen, I need money. I need funding.
Mm-hmm.
Was he one of the, I'll give it to you for 50%, or he was just a flat no?
No, he just, it's a hard business to start, because you have clients, you have no income. So, who wants to give me money when I have no means of paying it back?
Oh, I dealt with that when I built Green Ridge. I had no clients, I had no money, and I had to go into credit cards because, to your point, there's no bank in there would say, sure, let's give you a loan.
Right. Yeah. He actually, I had got my mortgage from him, and just maybe a year beforehand, and he cranked up the value of my house and lent me $200,000.
Now, was he with a larger bank at the time? Was it a national bank, or was it a bank? Or?
It was a regional bank.
Okay.
Summit Bank. It was a big bank back in the day. Yeah.
So that's a relationship-based kind of, you didn't have to go through the big bureaucracy. You actually had somebody who was close.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah, he was president of Summit Bank.
And you started this after your, I want to learn a little bit of like.
My husband.
Because that's an emotional.
I know. And it's crazy because I'm the breadwinner, right? My husband is pretty, so they were 2 and 3. And we decided that we just wanted to be a normal family as long as we could. So we really kept things to ourselves, which I think was a godsend. I also would not have started my business if I didn't have this woman who worked for me at home, who actually ended up working for me for 15 years, because she was such an incredible woman to take care of my children and help them and drive them to all their activities. But it was really tough because when I was with my husband in the hospital or whatever, I felt like I should be with the kids and work. When I was at work, I felt like I should be with the kids and my husband, and with the kids, I felt like I should be with my husband. I was really torn.
That's a tough balancing act.
Yeah, it was very difficult. And he didn't pass until the kids were 6 and 7. So I had gone through this torture for many, many, many years.
That is not an easy road.
No.
Especially with young kids and innocent.
Yeah, it was really tough.
You start the business, right?
Yeah.
And you're coming from, Jesus, just think about like the personal, emotional weight that you're having. you're coming from a real corporate structure, your early on careers of growing something in an already established business. Now you have to start something from scratch. How'd you put together? What were your first couple of moves?
Well, I didn't know it at the time of it whatsoever, but I was the first commercial real estate mortgage banking firm to be founded in New Jersey in 25 years, male, female, whatever.
Okay.
But then I was also the only female-founded commercial real estate mortgage banking firm in the country. Now, I had no idea of these two things, but clients just embraced the fact that I did this. My competitors, my clients, just kept echoing, wow, she's got balls. Like, who does this,
So you got a warm reception.
Very, very. So I started in June of 94. And within a couple days, I hired 3 people, actually. So that $200,000 was only giving me 6 months to sink or swim. And one of my former clients who I wanted to be, he gave me a $25 million shopping center to refinance with his own bank, which is unheard of. And he paid me handsomely for that. So I paid off that loan within the 6 months, actually. Paid off completely. And I've never borrowed a penny since.
Really?
Yeah. We did $154 million of financings the first year.
So you had mentioned marketing a couple of times in your story.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take that opportunity to really leverage that newfound information and did you double down on that? How did you continue to bring in the source of flow, deal for yourself? Did you hire a team and that's what they were doing? I know you said you hired 3 people. What did it kind of look like for you?
What did that look like? One would, my first employee just retired. He was with me for 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hired him to handle my servicing portfolio, of which was zero. And he had work, and he said, "Why am I even considering this?" I said, "I'm going to make you a millionaire one day." And he told a story at his retirement party because I did.
I'm assuming as a millionaire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So I hired him to handle servicing, but he became my CFO. He did everything, from day one, the books, the accounting, HR. Amazing how much he did. But I do have longevity with many of the people at GS Wilcox.
Now, what do you attribute that to? What do you find is the successful sauce that gets people to not only in the right spot, but to stay?
I try to listen to people. Everyone's different. Everyone's got their own needs. I try to work with them. It's a two-way street, but I try to treat people the way I want to be treated.
So 6 months, you paid back this loan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you made the guy who was in control of servicing the client portfolio with 0 clients is now a millionaire. I'm assuming there was a growth trajectory that happened. Did it exceed your expectations?
We service like close to $2 billion right now.
Well, now.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like what? Like,
so what did every year look like thereafter? Like, how did you start to set your goals? What was your vision for the business and how did you make it a reality?
Just worked really, really hard. Worked really hard to get the accounts, to get, the lender accounts. We represent life insurance companies all across the country. And, just honesty and integrity, to tell you the truth. We have a very, very good reputation out there.
So looking back in the early years, what do you think their top things were that you did that changed the game for you? I
risked everything, so good old Babson, no risk, no reward. And I was put into an awful, awful situation, with the illness of my husband. And I look at it now and I go, I don't know how I did it. Something took over and
it's that fight or flight instinct. You're backed into a corner and you needed to either
forward. Yeah. I don't know. It's very rewarding though. It really is very rewarding. And I have a great company. I have great people. Both of my children.
I was going to say, now your kids are in the business.
Yes. Both of my children are my partners.
Now, how did that come? Because we deal with a lot of business owners who are looking at transitioning, succeeding their business to their kids.
Yeah.
Kids are always the most difficult because they will always be your kid in your mind. Mm-hmm. When did you decide that you wanted them in the business? When did they decide they wanted to be in your business? Let's go through that and peel that back a little bit.
Well, we've always been very close. The children, Wesley and Bridget, I always say they're like an old married couple. I mean, even when they were 3 and 4 years old, they were very close. And I think that losing their dad made us all closer.
Probably steepened their maturity curve as well, their independence curve.
Yeah.
Mom's out building her own business.
They're very different individuals, which I think is great. You know, they both went to Bucknell. They went to different high schools, but they both went to the same college. And it amazed me that they would be in the same class. They both majored in business. They'd be in the same class and they'd pick each other to be their partner for the projects. And I was like, wow, this is going to be interesting.
That's interesting.
I never got that call. You know, he's not doing his work or she's not doing her work. They would do it time and time again.
So they relied upon each other and they showed up for each other. Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. Very proud.
So now they're graduating college. Did you make them go do their own thing first?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What did that look like? Did you have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, did they say, we want to come into the business?
No, it wasn't, I think we always talked about it maybe, but it was not an option then. They had to go make something of themselves. And then they both got their masters in commercial real estate because they were thinking about coming into the business. So my son got his master's at NYU and my daughter at Columbia. And they both worked in the commercial real estate field and then came in gradually.
And how'd you bring them in? Yeah. Did you bring them in as partner?
No.
What did that look like?
No, they were employees. We had to sit down and have chat.
Would you mind sharing what that sounded like?
Yeah. When I'm your mom, and we talk about something and we debate, or you might not agree with me, that's cool. But in business, you have to do what I say at the beginning, and that's the end of the story. The relationship has grown to now we all collaborate together, but they had to come in and be an employee and take direction without too much margin for discussion.
That's usually a hard line because
yes.
Which hat am I wearing?
Yeah.
Am I wearing brother-sister hat? Am I wearing the son hat, daughter hat? Am I wearing the boss employee hat? How did you guys know when to appropriately distinguish what conversation was appropriate or inappropriate? Like, did you draw a boundary? Was it like, hey, listen, we're in these 4 walls. I'm just not mom today. Like, make it a habit.
I mean,
I'm not mom today.
It would just happen naturally. We didn't make a big thing out of it.
No, there wasn't any friction point. It kind of like, this is the rules, and they pretty much, it all fell into place.
Yeah. If there's something on our mind, we sit down and talk about it. And that's the rule.
What did they have to do to get to partnership? Was it a 10-year thing? Or how was that drawn out for them there?
They both achieved so much. There's a lot to learn, within the company. And I'm not going to do this forever. So it's good that we can work all together for me to teach them the tricks of the trade.
So when you say you're not going to do this forever, what does Act 2 look like for you?
I don't know. It's funny, we work together, we have a great team. And I think it was interesting to see how some of the people who had been there for, 30 years, whatever, to see my children come in and to see my children gain respect from the other employees. Because you never know. And you hear so many stories about, kids of families coming in that don't really deserve it, there to not work and get paid.
There's a lot of horror stories.
Yes. At this point, my children have full respect of industry people in the company, but we're also very close. We'll work all day and we'll get together for dinner 4 or 5 times a week.
Are they married?
My daughter is.
She is?
Yeah, and 2 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. So you're act 2. That's where we were going with this.
Act 2.
Because you said you're not going to do this forever.
No, my act 2. I mean, I have a lot of interests in life. I paint, I golf, I travel, but I'm always working too.
Because you love it?
I do. I do love it. I love the hunt. How's
your role evolved over the years?
More from doing to mentoring. Delegate. I really do. I like to teach. Probably got that from my mother, being a teacher. Direct. I'm sure that my people would tell you that. But I really try to be fair. But act 2 is, I don't know. Sometimes now I say I'm like Charlie of Charlie's Angels. I'm like Ned in the office
behind
every day, but I'm always telling everybody what to do. Yeah.
Make the phone call. This is what's got to get done today.
Make the phone call.
Don't disappoint me, Angels.
No, don't screw it up. Just don't screw it up.
So if you were to look back at your journey thus far, what's the biggest mistake that you would do all over again?
Biggest mistake.
Did you have any of those moments where you just were like, man, that was a big mistake, but I'd still do it again?
I can't think of anything.
How about?
Plus, I'm a forward thinker. I'm a forward thinker, so I don't really dwell on the past. I don't really reflect too much. I mean, obviously, losing my husband was a very big deal, and you get that over again. So, I have a very good balance in my life.
Do you find that most of your relationships come through referral, or how are you building relationships these days?
A lot of the business is repeat, but I have young people that are very eager. I mean, my children, and I have 2 analysts that always have their eyes open, and there's a lot of new people out there who are our clients or should be our clients. So.
Now, being a forward thinker, what do you see as the future of your industry and your business? How do you see it changing?
AI is going to be an influence, I'm sure, in a lot of ways. Commercial real estate is never going to go away. Our role as a mortgage is never going to go away. But I'm sure it'll be different.
Have you started preparing for that at all, or is that the kids' problems now?
No, I mean, we talk about it. It's just we're a little ahead of the curve. I think that we have to keep our eyes and ears open, see how we can utilize things.
If you were to leave 3 things to your kids or your grandkids, meaning 3 things that represent who you are, ideas, concepts, mentality, what do you think are the 3 most important things that you would leave that represents who you are and
I think
who you
being
become?
A creative thinker. Every problem has a solution. And I think that if you look for different kinds of solutions, that's very important. Creative way of solving things. Integrity and honesty is at the forefront of anyone being successful. Very, very important.
Don't lose that.
Right. Yeah. Don't screw it up. Yeah. All good.
Well, this was fantastic.
Okay.
All right. So another episode of Business Unchained. Let's wrap it up.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Bobby Mascia here. If you've been listening to Business Unchained, you know we're creating conversations that matter. Real stories and strategies to help business owners and entrepreneurs win. We've been putting a lot of work into these episodes in our online community, bringing you content that can actually move the needle for your business. And we're everywhere. Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, TikTok, you name it, we're there. So look, if you're getting value from what we're doing, please follow, subscribe, and drop a quick comment or like. It really helps us grow this thing. Just search Business Unchained and you'll find us everywhere.